In this video, I'd like to very briefly introduce you to my software, Window Blocker. So the original impetus for the creation of Window Blocker was to create this 25-minute time range here, which would allow the user to concentrate for 25 minutes and then take a break. This was the original Pomodoro method, where it was you would study or work for a burst of 25 minutes of activity, and then when those 25 minutes were up, you would take a break. This is an old method invented in Spain about 30 years ago. It's just an old method that this college student made that would help him study. So basically you work for 25 minutes, then you take a 5-minute break, and then you go back and do it again. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of applications on the market that perform this task, and this is my own version here that I created to help me in my own work efforts. You can see right now when the app is in a red state, you can see the little animation going, and it's telling us that we have 15 minutes left in this focus session. And additionally, you can also, if you want background noise, then you can turn the audio on here, and you will get background noise to your studying efforts. There's a volume knob here if you want to control the volume. And additionally, every time you complete a study session, then you'll get a little gold star here on your punch clock bar. You can see this bar will go across your app all day long. Each one of these blocks is 4 hours, and so there's 4 blocks here, meaning that from here to here is 16 hours. There's 24 hours in a day, but if you sleep 8 hours, then 24 minus 8 is 16. So the timeline from here to here represents 16 hours in a typical person's waking life, the time that they are actually awake during the day, from here to here. So you can see here I woke up actually 3 hours and 16 minutes ago, and since that time has passed, I've completed 5 focus sessions. Again, every time this switch reaches the end, you get a little gold star here, and that allows you to track how many focus sessions you've completed. Now, to actually watch that happen, what I'll do is I think I'll delete our last star here, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to move our little slider all the way to the end of this bar here, so you can see what happens when the user has gotten to the end of his
resume focus
session. You can see I have 25 seconds left in this focus session. So what's going to happen when this timer hits 0, this will increment from 4 to 5, and I'll get a little gold star here in my timeline bar. So I'll pause this so we can get past these 8 seconds here. And we're almost done. 2, 1.
Focus session over.
It says your focus session is over. So you'll notice the little gold star has appeared here, and this has incremented +1. So your goal throughout the day is to try to get as many little gold stars as possible. And this is actually a lot more difficult to do than you might think, to actually get in 25 minutes of cognitive effort, of disciplined study or of work. That's actually very difficult to do. So it's hard to fill this this lineup with gold stars during the workday, but that is the goal of Window Blocker. So now you're supposed to take a 5-minute break. You can see since we've been talking, 57 seconds have gone by. Now when this gets to 5 minutes, then an alarm will sound telling you that you are to come back to the computer and start working again. So that's the point of the Pomodoro method. You have 25 minutes of work, you have a 5-minute break, and then the alarm sounds to tell you to come back to work. So this is going to sound in 5 minutes. Looks like we've got 1 minute and 25 seconds gone. So let me pause the video right now, and we'll come back when this is almost at the 5-minute mark. And now you can see we're coming near to the 5-minute mark. So when this happens, the computer will tell us that it's time to get back to work.
In 5 minutes.
With this little alarm clock here and a little angry beaver animation,
5-minute delay,
which tells us that it's time to get back to work. You can see there I just pushed the snooze button, which means that it will pop up again in another 5 minutes. So when this hits 10 minutes, it will come back again. And this can be very useful if you are away from your computer, or even more commonly when you start looking at something else or playing around or playing a video game or texting or talking on your phone. Then you'll be probably pretty surprised how fast that 5-minute break can go. And this will tell you how long it's been since you stopped working. So the goal here, of course, is to minimize this amount of time so that you can get back to work and try to get more done per day and be more productive. Now, of course, you don't want this app on your Windows desktop throughout the day. That's why the app is designed to live in your taskbar down here. You can see it's the little blue icon. But we've also placed minimize buttons here, here, and here, and here. It's 4 minimize buttons on the app. And when you can also minimize via the play and minimize buttons. So when you're ready to get back to work, you press play, and now you've started your next 25-minute focus session. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just press play and minimize, which is what this button does. It actually starts the focus session as well as minimizes the app to your task tray here. Of course, you could also just do it by clicking the minimize button, or there, or what I do is press Control W. Control W is the shortcut key, which I probably press about 500 times per day, which controls the minimized and maximized state of Window Blocker. And while I'm using the various functions throughout the day, I'm pressing Control W again and again and again and again, and that will bring the app up or minimize it to the task tray. The primary screen that you'll be interacting with, besides the focus session area, is probably the Window Manager panel. We're going to describe Window Manager in a different video, but briefly, it's designed to help you sort file folders, websites, links, and files on your desktop so that you can range these 3 things into one area in your app. And so whenever you're working on a new project, it's helpful to think of the project as a group of folders, websites, and application shortcuts. So this can be a very useful tab, which we'll talk about in a different video. Of course, there are many tabs in Window Blocker. There's a calendar that has 3 years on one page, which is very useful for looking at multiple. You can see every day in a 3-year range in one page. It's very useful. There's an alarm tabs, which will allow you to set 4 alarms. Timers, this is for interval timer, stopwatch timer, and a countdown timer. Very useful. We have a cuckoo clock, which we'll describe on a different tab. The world clock allows you to set any country of the world. Startup locations will control the area where your applications are starting up, which can be very useful, particularly if you have a large monitor or if you work in a multi-monitor environment. We'll be talking about startup locations in a different video, though. The punch clock is very useful because the punch clock data controls when this 16-hour span starts. So every morning when I wake up, without fail, I push this button, punch in, every morning, and that just sets the time and the day. You can see I actually woke up at 7:24 p.m. today. That's right, because I have vampire hours, because 7 p.m. is actually the start of my 16-hour day here, followed by 8 hours of sleep. So you can see I've been up for 3 hours, 28 minutes, and 16 seconds today. And this little grid here tells you how long it will be until you've been up for 4 hours. It'll be 31 minutes. How long it'll be until the 8-hour mark is reached. That comes in another 4 hours and 31 minutes. And so on. Of course, this is about the time when I'll be going to bed, 12 hours and 31 minutes from now. And this can be very useful because it will notify you at which stage of the day you're at throughout the day. And you can set these alarms here to trigger at any of the 16-hour times. And this is particularly useful because during a 16-hour day, your brain is usually going to be most active during the first 8 hours, really more like the first 5 hours. After that, particularly if you're working on a cognitively demanding task, then fatigue will set in, and your willpower and your mental stick-to-itiveness will start to fade as this timer gets closer to the end of the day. So by having these little timers here, it's really helpful to let you know at what stage of the day you're at, particularly if you, like me, if you like to go to lunch at the same time each day. And then this will tell you when you've reached that time period. This little blue bar will extend down all throughout the day until it gets to the 16-hour mark. So this punch clock panel here is the time grid that actually rules my life for pretty much every work day. I'm referring to this little grid constantly, and I'm watching for these little alarms constantly. When one of the alarms fires, then we get this little indication here in the bottom right where Window Blocker just says the hour and the number. So when I get to hour 5, it will just come up and say it's hour 5. And that's how the punch clock alarm works. So we're going to stop this little intro video here. This little help link here leads to a help page where you can learn about additional information on the other tabs. But for now, thank you for checking out Window Blocker.